Suicide Squad the comic has been around a lot longer than I think people realize. The Squad originally showed up in Brave and the Bold number 25 all the way back in 1959, but it didn't become an ongoing series until 1987. It's been stopped and started over the years, and as of currently, we're up to the new Suicide Squad, which started in 2014. The movie based on Suicide Squad seems to be a combination of Volume 1 and Volume 4, where they picked the most popular characters and had them as the hero/villains. I like the fact that they decided to go with a lesser-known comic book series, because for the most part, the comic book movies that we've gotten from the big names from Marvel and DC have mostly been the heavy hitters. You know, Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, X-Men, Captain America, Iron Man. It's been all the major heroes. And this not only was focusing on a lesser-known series, but it was focusing on villains and making them the good guys kind of against their will. The movie takes place after the events of Batman vs. Superman, and they do a good job of showing how the world has kind of come around on Superman, and they're really feeling his absence. And Amanda Waller is talking to the government and saying, look, we need to prepare, we need to get ready in case we get a metahuman attack that we can't handle, because now Superman's out of the picture, and we're at a loss for heroes. Batman actually pops up in this a couple times. There were a few other cameos. I'm not going to spoil them. They weren't shown in any of the trailers, and I thought that was great. That had me very happy. Amanda Waller's contingency plan is essentially take all of these metahuman villains that they have in prison and force them to work for them. So in case there's an event that they can't handle themselves, they pull these metahumans out of prison and force them to go and fight for them. The thing that I liked about this was that they did make them feel like villains. They introduced each of the characters, and they did a really good job of that. I enjoyed the way that they were showing just how awful they were. So the Suicide Squad was made up of Harley Quinn, Boomerang, Diablo, Killer Croc, Deadshot, the Enchantress, Katana, and Rick Flag, who was the military guy who was overseeing everything for Amanda Waller. I really liked the character interaction between the cast. I thought they had a lot of chemistry. I thought they worked really well, and I enjoyed having them as a team. I thought that they worked well together, and even though they were bad guys, there was the whole root for the bad guy thing, because you realized that as bad as they were, who they were working for was actually worse. Will Smith, who played Deadshot, surprised the hell out of me, because when they first cast him, I was worried, because I genuinely loved Will Smith. I've liked him for years, ever since The Fresh Prince, but it seemed like lately, the movies that he's been putting out, he's been phoning in his performance. I just really haven't liked a lot of the stuff that he's done recently, and seeing him in this just reinvigorated my like of him. I thought that he really stole the show. He was terrific in this. Margot Robbie, who played Harley Quinn, I thought that she was also great. She had the right look for it. She was doing the, sexy Harley Quinn, not the jester Harley Quinn. However, at one point in the movie, she was wearing the jester costume. So I thought that was a nice little nod for some of the hardcore fans of the character. I was surprised by Jai Courtney as Boomerang, because in everything that I've seen of him, I've thought that he's given a bland to mediocre performance. In this, I thought he was really good. He was likable, he had some good one-liners, and he helped to bring some of the humor into the film. The rest of the cast was good. I like Diablo. I like Killer Croc. The Enchantress had a pivotal part in the movie, but she didn't have nearly the screen time that the other characters had. I liked Flag, and I loved Amanda Waller. She was brutal. However, Harley Quinn and Deadshot stole the show. They were definitely the two main characters of the movie. What was disappointing? I thought that Jared Leto's Joker was pretty weak. Something with him just didn't quite gel. I still hate the tattoos. I really wish they didn't go that route, or at least if they would have made them not quite so on the nose, but like the damaged across his forehead and and the teeth too. It felt like it was a Hot Topic rendition of the Joker as opposed to like the Joker from the comics. The other thing I didn't like, and this is something that I got from David Ayer's other movies, I think that he films the action a little too close. This, it was pulled back more than something like Sabotage, but I still think that it was a bit too close, and especially at the end, where it's taking place at night in the city that's been shut down, so there's not a lot of light, and now you're moving the camera very close to the action, so you're getting a lot of shadows of what's happening. It was dark, it was too close, and you couldn't really get a grasp of what was happening. The movie did at times feel like it was itching to be an R-rated film. There was a lot more language than I expected. It wasn't, cursing for curse's sake, but the few that they threw in there, they were effective. They made sense within the context of what was going on, and here you have bad people talking bad, and it worked. A lot of times when they did, it got a very good reaction from the crowd, because a couple times they were there to be funny and punctuate something, and it got the proper reaction. However, on the negative side, there were a few times where you could tell the PG-13 came into play. There was somebody who gets their head blown off, and the way that it was edited and shot, it just was very sloppy, because you can't show a head exploding quite as visceral as they wanted to with a PG-13 movie. So they kind of masked it, and it felt really weird. And then there was another time where somebody got shot, and wow, horrible edit. That was probably the worst edit that stuck out in the entire film. But there were some other instances where you could just tell that it's like, oh, this was supposed to be a little bit worse, but they dialed it back. I like the soundtrack a lot. I thought that the music that they picked fit the film very well. I saw some people complaining, saying that they were trying to do like a Guardians of the Galaxy thing, but I just thought it was a movie that had a good soundtrack. It had some good musicality, and the songs that they picked felt appropriate for each of the times when they used it. There were a couple of times that it felt a little shoehorned in, but for the most part, they fit. They clicked in, and they helped to make the scene that much more enjoyable. Suicide Squad is exactly the kind of movie that I hoped it was going to be. It had a lot of interesting characters. They did a very good job of developing them and giving them very distinct personalities and making them interesting, making you want to know more about them, making you enjoy their stories inside of this ensemble. I was annoyed at the rating because it did feel like they dialed it back. It did feel like they trimmed some stuff to get it down to PG-13. But in the end, I don't think it hurt it too much. Like, there's some movies that are the PG-13 and the R-rated cut are just night and day. The movie is a lot of what a summer blockbuster should be. It's big, it's loud, it's got memorable characters, and it is a shit ton of fun.